Yeah. I've been trying to think a lot about leadership and part of these days, because I don't know how much I see myself as a leader in the traditional sense, but in part because I lack patience with foolishness, and it tends to create a problem. But I think that one is always the sort of humility that says we all have our work to do, right? And what I always want is the ability to sort of see. I don't ever want to lose, because of racism or sexism, the ability to connect with people at the level of shared interest or shared possibility, right? And I think that and more to the point, what I often say to young people is, it's not just enough to say the right things. It's not just enough to think the right things or to be able to outline a set of woke politics and use all of the right language. What do you do when you have to live that out in the messiness of people with community? And what do you do when does your leadership make space for people to be in process, to earnestly be in process, not to be using process as a delay so they can continue to be raggedy and violent? But when folks are really willing to meet you at the table, are you prepared to journey with people in some way through that work? And so to me, that is what it means to lead across difference. Is I am a firm believer that if I both give the folks in my orbit tools that are useful, that I have found useful, but also if I am willing to be vulnerable about the places that I don't have it figured out yet, and I don't go in performing like I understand all of this stuff, or I live out my feminist, radical, progressive Christian, whatever revolution well every single day, then that gives other people the space to say, I'm still struggling with this, or this doesn't make sense to me, or are we sure XYZ thing? That's a realer, more authentic revolution than saying all of the right stuff and then wondering why things fall apart. And it's because things fall apart because if you don't do the work of messiness around revolution, then you'll start to think that revolutions are only for the people who think like you and that you like.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I love that. And it's messy work, right?
Yeah.
Then I just always say, you know what? Just at least if you're on the arc that bends toward justice, and you with integrity that you want to be there, then I can take the messiness and all of
Yeah.
that. But it's when the
It's, yeah.
process is an excuse not
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. And here's the thing. But I also think that our spirits tell us that, though, right? I think we know when folks are saying the right things, but they really aren't committed. But I think that and the other thing, and another friend and I always talk about this, but sometimes we harder on the people that are showing up and trying than the folks who don't. And that's the thing I mean. And look, and I say that with the clear caveat that I know in particular in Black communities that is often used as a cloak to be harmful to trans folks and queer folks. And I want to be real clear that I'm not here for that, and that ain't what I'm talking about, right? You ain't got to understand how people show up. And here's the thing: if you listen, it ain't so hard to understand. So there's that, right? Listen and lead from empathy, and then you can understand. But also, you can just call people who they are. You can just affirm that folks get to show up and live their lives without, without, because you can do that without a full understanding. So I'm not talking about that, but I'm saying that we also have one of the things we have is a generation of young folks who have really sophisticated political language, critiques, and they're very impressive. But then when you get up close, you'd be like, well, why does this look so messy and
Right.
messed up? And why is it all falling apart? And it's like, because what they don't necessarily have is the requisite emotional intelligence to go with all of those politics. And in the end, revolutions are people, politics are people, churches are people, governments are people. And if you can't deal with people, then your revolution is not a thing worth investing in. That's what I mean.